So the reference here, for those who might not know, is that I directed the most successful play, drama or comedy in the history of Santa Monica's Morgan-Wixon Theater.
There's your camera right there.
Okay. But I should look at you instead of the camera.
It's up to you. I've had people just go, and when you want to buy my book, 1-800-BUY-BOOK. They'll just, and it actually looks okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because there is an audience.
I'm going to just stare at you and wink a lot.
You know what? Your wife's watching us, Paul. What's she going to think?
She's going to be slightly excited by that.
Oh my God. I like her so much. She dreams about MMA.
This is what a man looks for in a woman part. I mean, I don't know who you're dating, but...
Well, she doesn't get excited about me man lusting, but if she does,
well,
that's okay.
I don't know. We'll have to find that out. So stand-up, I hear you do stand-up.
I did. I started in 2003 at the Comedy Store.
Okay.
And I moved to LA going, I think I have some entertainment in me.
Yeah.
I'd done 1,600 radio interviews, TV interviews. I thought I could figure it out. Took many, many years to find my comic voice. So the last 4 or 5 years, I've been hitting hard. I'll be at the Comedy Chateau next weekend in LA.
That's cool.
And you are just a comic genius. I've read.
By the way, are we on?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. So the reason, before we talk about me, so I did stand up briefly in the 1980s. I went to the clubs. The Comedy Store had a venue in Santa Monica, the Comedy Store West.
I heard that, yeah, the West.
And there was an open mic night, and I figured, why not embarrass myself in front of a lot of people?
Sure.
And obviously, that's changed over the years. I would never do anything like that again. I would never.
And you did my show.
Right, that's it. There's a circle closed, I would say. So there's a guy who comes up on stage, and he's got a shaggy overcoat on, very, very long hair. He's about 300 pounds. And he gets up there, and he starts talking. I'm thinking, this is sad, because this is a homeless person with an alcohol problem. And he starts talking about his wife and what he's going to do to his wife. And as soon as I hear the word beast fucking, I'm thinking, can you say that? And it's outrageous, and it gets funnier and funnier. And he leaves to great applause. And of course, I get to follow him.
Oh, nice.
And a year later, Sam Kinison breaks big nationwide. It's like, what? Sam Kinison opened for me? It's like,
you didn't even need to write a movie.
Yeah.
Sam Kinison opened for you.
My God, what a startlingly bizarre, talented guy. But I have enormous admiration for you, because I tried stand-up, and you have to be funny, I'm told. That's one of the ingredients.
It helps.
Sure, and also have a character. And when you talked about finding your character, did you read Cavett by Dick Cavett and Christopher Porterfield?
I have not.
Okay, so Cavett started out doing stand-up before he became Dick Cavett.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he talks about the whole thing of who is your character, because it's not just, usually it's an extension of yourself.
Sure.
But it's not just telling jokes. It's like almost nobody can survive without a persona if they're just telling jokes, even if they're really funny jokes. And I was very young at that point, 5 or 6 years ago, and that hadn't occurred to me, the whole idea of what's your persona. So, but you found
Well,
yours.
I actually hired Scott Dikkers, who founded The Onion, to help me find my comedy persona. He's got a lot of great books on it. And it was really interesting going through, because I also started and just told jokes and told stories, and I just hit and miss. And he's a white guy, he's an old guy, he's a young guy.
Right. You were white then? You're working the white gimmick? Yeah.
I was going the white angle.
Sure.
But now it's all Latino jokes.
Absolutely.
Right down the middle.
Yeah.
Bueno?
Yeah. No, I know what bueno means. Yeah.
And so that really helped me. And then I realized, for example, I've been in a few films, and they always cast me as the angry guy. Mm-hmm. Angry guy, murderer, kidnapper, the big...
The typecasting shit, right.
Well, and then I was like, do people really perceive me as that angry? And then even in my review, when I review my comedy, I'm hardly ever smiling on stage in my best bits.
Interesting.
Because I'm going hard on fake angst.
Right.
Fake angst.
Right.
I'm mad at the world. I'm mad at this. And it's almost like Sam Kinison pretending, because I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't shy away from that. Yeah. Like my comedy's like, go into that, like be pissed off. And I don't want to be pissed off because I'm happy, but that's what works.
Right.
And if that's what works for me, just go ahead and just be that. So I'm kind of an asshole on stage, but hopefully I'm a funny asshole. We'll get to that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not being an asshole yet, Paul, but I haven't looked at your handwriting.
Yeah, so you're kind of monetizing the dickitude.
Dickitude?
Is what you're doing, yeah.
Is that dickitude? Oh, attitude.
Attitude, dickitude.
With the dick in your tude.
Well, I don't know if it's in my tude, but there's a dick involved.
So I knew Paul Guy, who we were talking to, would be very, very funny. Credential-wise, it's hard to list all your accolades, but I think
I got 20 minutes. Just go through them, man. I'm kidding.
Let me just read.
Please.
And in the beginning,
What's the word?
Liar Liar is a movie we've probably all seen.
I have.
You penned it and you produced it, and that's you're most famous for it. But you've done 30 other years of high quality work besides that.
Well, I don't know about high quality, but I have done 30 years of work. I've put in my time.
Listen, Santa Monica theater is important.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So the reference here, for those who might not know, is that I directed the most successful play, drama or comedy in the history of Santa Monica's Morgan-Wixon Theater.
Right.
Very proud about that. Woody Allen deserves no credit for Play It Again, Sam. What a piece of shit.
Nope.
Without my direction, nobody would have come.
Exactly. You just directed it, he wrote it, but he's not that important.
Right.
So, but because I lived in LA, and I still do for 20 years, I understand that theater's not that big of a deal in LA. And yet those of us that love theater go, oh my God, there's so much talent here. Why does more people not go to the theater?
We'll go to an average show, to an average play, and I'm writing down the names of 3 cast members of people I would like to cast if I have the right short film or the right play that I'm directing. There is so much acting talent. It's scary.
So much.
There's an incredible oversupply of acting talent.
Yep.
I wrote and directed 3 short films relatively recently, and we listed ourselves on, I think it's Backstage West or whatever it's called. And for 3 short films that were paying $150 a day, which is better than nothing, but live on it.
It's kind of what short films pay, right?
We had 5,000 applicants, and that's not a made-up figure. That's actual. And you're thinking, from a directorial point of view, that's gold. That's great. You have so many choices. From the actor's point of view, you're going, you're great. That's not good enough, because there's so many people who are good at it.
Yep.
There are way more good actors than good writers, for what it's worth.
But you're both.
You're very kind, and I'm going to give you that $5 when we're done.
But but writing is important, especially as an actor, because there's so much competition. If you can write things that is match your voice, like Ed and I wrote a short film, and it got 8 comedy awards, which you've never seen. No one's ever seen it. Wow. It's called Holy Poker, and we wrote it, and we produced it, and we cast it, and we went and auditioned people, and it was a blast.
Yeah,
and it was funny, and no one ever saw it.
Yeah.
But the process of making it was so fulfilling for us, and you've probably done that too, with the hope of perhaps selling it later.
Yeah.
By the way, Ed played Osho, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Do you know
That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense.
We had him a long beard, and he had to drag his S's out, and we had L. Ron Hubbard. It was fun. I'll show it to you. You'll like it.
Yeah. That's, for me, I waited until... One should start making short films early, I think, if one is a writer or performer, director, or whatever. And I always thought, I'm a writer, I can't tell anybody I'm an actor, and I'll never be a director. So finally, a couple of years ago, I did these 3 shorts, and it's so much fun, because it's a new wading pool to dip your toe into.
Right.
And it's new muscles to see, do I have them? Can I exercise them? And you can learn so much just by making these 2 8-minute films and 1 12-minute film or whatever. And I think it helps as a writer, because when you're directing, what works, what doesn't work, what looks good on the page that's not playing, how much in control of tone are you when you're doing the writing? And for me, I teach writing as well, and I encourage my students to act or take improv or do stand-up or whatever, because a lot of them have never worked with actors. Actors are like the foreign body in their ecosystem or whatever. And they don't know, they will write things that'll say, they'll say, her eyes are moist and glistening and angry and hard, and we can see in them. It's like, no, none of that is directable. You can't act that. So it gives you an idea of what to ask your actors to do. What's a doable thing that you can ask an actor to do? I'm talking a lot, Bart.
Well, I'm interviewing you. They know me. They're just like, find the gold in these people. I think that when I started really becoming better at stand-up is when I became better at writing and better at editing, because we write so much stuff. For example, I did a 15-minute thing. I filmed it, and I was like, I'm so happy I have 15 minutes new material, which, as you know, is a lot in stand-up, right?
Yeah.
People don't know, but that's a lot. And then about a month later, I was on stage with the guy who helped me write it, Greg Wilson, one of my teachers and friends, and he goes, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do the 6 funny minutes out of the 15 I did last week. And he goes, good job. He goes, writing is all editing, man. You only keep the great stuff. And even though everything else you thought was great, if the audience doesn't respond, you're just there serving the audience, which is very humble for me as a selfish narcissist to try and serve the audience only.
Right, as opposed to service them, yeah. Many years before The Tonight Show, my wife and I saw Jay Leno doing stand-up. And he didn't really have a character. He came out, he put down his tape recorder, he turned it on, And we heard about 40 minutes of the funniest stuff I've ever heard in my life. And for him, it was a job. Then he turns it off. He goes back to his hotel room, probably listens to everything, figures out what worked, what didn't work. And for him, it was a calling. Obviously, he loved it, but it was a job. It's a profession. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to get the most laughter in the least amount of time, the most explosive laughter, have it build, have people remember stuff. And since then, I've seen people like Steve Martin, who is he's incredible conceptually in what it is that he's doing. He's making fun, or he was making fun of what it is to do stand-up. And I've seen people like Emo Phillips and Howie Mandel, all of whom had more interesting shtick than Leno did, but nobody who made me laugh harder than Leno did, just doing the jokes. It was the quality of the material that just stood out. The
quality of the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you write a movie, so you've probably written more than one movie, but
I probably have, yeah.
But how many?
Since they've made 3 of them, they've probably wrote more than one of them.
So give me all 3 movies. So I mentioned Liar Liar.
There's The Little Rascals, which I co-wrote, and there's Heartbreakers, which starred Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Gene Hackman and people like that.
And when you finally pass it off to the producers, do you lose control of your baby and they rewrite it, or how much of it do you get to infuse into what the final product looks like?
You do lose control, basically, because film is seen as a director's medium in general.
Okay.
So the studios, I think writers are seen as a necessary evil, and we can't do anything till we have the script. But once we have the script, then we can do whatever we want.
We can just change it and then cut him out and give him half his credit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean everything does get changed. For example, on The Little Rascals, Amblin/Universal had the rights to the Little Rascals characters, and they'd had them for a long time. And they contacted us and said, "Do you want to come and pitch?" And we said, "Sure, we'll pitch." I'd never seen The Little Rascals, so I rent a bunch of VHSs at that time. I look at them, I'm going, Alfalfa's hilarious, and I get why people like The Little Rascals. So my partner and I do our pitch. Penelope Spheris is the director. She had directed The Decline of Western Civilization. So she is the logical choice to direct The Little Rascals, kids movie. So she listens to the pitch and she hires another team. And the other team turns in their script and Universal says, "We don't love this. Go talk to those other guys that you didn't hire." So she has to talk to us the second time. I'm sure she was really happy to do that. So we come up with a new pitch and she hires us and we're told, okay, so the rights are going to expire soon. So we need a first draft really soon to find out if we're going to renew the rights or not. And we said, great, how long is really soon? So the average is 12 weeks for a screenplay.
Sure.
They said, you've got 12 days. We said, pardon? So yeah, 12 days. So we're on the lot next to the director. They actually give us a little room. And for 12 days, 10 hours a day or whatever, that's what we're doing. We're writing. And we give the pages to Penelope at the end of the day. And next morning come back, and she had no time to screw around because she's in pre-production on this film at this point.
Film is going into production
it's gonna happen now.
And they don't have words on the page.
Right, sure. And her feedback is really direct, which is great because many directors don't know how to talk to writers. So she'll write on the page, "This is shit." Which is great feedback because you can't argue. Yeah, it was steaming when I wrote it. I'm glad to see it hasn't changed. Or I like it. And pretty much if she liked it, that's it. That's now going to be in the movie because we don't have time to write,
To make it better. You didn't polish it. Like, that's it.
That's pretty much it, yeah. So that's it. That was a case where the screenplay was changed very, very little from what we wrote for several reasons, one of them being the ticking clock. On Liar Liar, Jim Carrey improvises quite a bit.
And he's so good at it.
He's hilarious at it. So if I'm a director, I do what Tom Shadyac did, which is, start with the words on the page and let's see where they take us. Like, fuck you. And they took him to a lot of places, some of which I recognized. But the story was the same. The characters are the same. The structure is the same. Some of the dialogue's the same. And you're going, okay, I get it. We are paying him $20 million. We should probably let him do his stuff.
Let him improv a little bit. Let him bring a little color.
Man. Yeah.
Right.
So that worked out. But when I'm watching it, there's 2 ways you could feel. The adult way is, I got a movie made, my partner and I got a movie made, and we have Jim Carrey starring in it, and it's going to turn out to be a big hit. That's the adult way to behave.
But you are a child.
I'm a child. So therefore, fuck, that's not my line. So, you walk.
You're like, we left the best line.
That's right.
That was great too.
That's right.
But this is the problem when I stand up. There's 2 good punchlines.
Yeah.
And you're like, which one's the audience like better? Because I like the one that's going to be the most like cringy and weird and off color. And the audience is like, no.
Right.
And they like the G-rated one. And so it's like, I think I could write an entire script because the story's the same in my jokes. But like, I was like, if I had to do it G-rated, I'd have to take the same premise, the same twist, and then find a better punchline.
Yeah.
In fact, I love the Liar Liar because one of the first bits I wrote that I think everyone liked was called Totally Honest. And it was this paradox of you just can't be totally honest to your spouse. And that's very similar to what your premise was. And I probably stole it from you. So thank you.
Well, we stole it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not an uncommon premise, especially if you've ever dated.
Yeah.
You know,
I haven't, but yeah.
Your wife is listening.
I go directly to marriage. You know, there's a lot of time that people waste on dating.
It's better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they might actually see you naked, and then
that's going to happen.
And then they're not going to want to continue that relationship.
Right. We've had one son. I don't think we need to have anybody see anybody naked.
If you're Mormon, you just put a hole in the sheet. You don't have to see them naked. Isn't that what they do?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
That's not true, though, right? They don't actually have a sheet with a hole in it. Is
I'm
that
not
a rumor?
Mormon currently, so I'm not sure.
I don't want to throw. I just think it's odd that you would have sex with a sheet.
Well, it's better than a sheep. Okay. Great minds. That's really sad. So I feel bad that you would go there.
I feel bad that you would go there with me.
Yeah.
I feel bad. Can I look at your handwriting real quick?
Sure, please.
So I thought you would be crazy, but you're not.
Right.
You write tiny like writers do.
Mm-hmm.
Small writing means focus. Focus and concentration from all the writers I know is the essential ingredient, temperament-wise, to sit at the computer hours and hours and hours and do what you do.
Yeah.
You're also an actor, though, so I didn't know what to expect. For example, when I was in high school, one of my closest friends is Stephen King's nephew, and he would explain to me Stephen's work process. And there was a typewriter that he had in his possession.
I'm sorry, Stephen King's nephew?
Yeah, this
I
is
heard Steve McQueen for a second. Okay, sorry, got it.
No, Steve McQueen's different, but I love his cars. Yeah. So Stephen King's nephew's name's Dan, is a friend of mine, and he had the typewriter that he wrote Carrie on.
Yeah.
And it had ivory keys, and all the keys were worn down from the fingernails.
Yeah.
And this is before he sold Carrie. Which, imagine a new typewriter getting worn down to the point before you sell your first play, and Dan's mother, I guess, pulled it out of the trash, or sister, aunt, and said, no, we're going to send this one in.
Yeah.
So that's how much time a writer has to focus and sit and tell their wife and their kids to leave them alone. That's focus.
Yeah.
Can you do that on a consistent basis? Do you enjoy it?
It's easier when you have deadlines, and it was easier when I had a writing partner because we would write 9 to 1 every day, whether we wanted to or not. It's actually harder in the age of the internet because I want to get on that Google machine thing, and I want to look up the Beatles, and I want to get in arguments with people about the Beatles. It's way more important.
You want to get on Twitter and piss people off?
Yeah, if I could find Twitter. Yeah. By the way, Stephen King, I think, is amazing. He's one of my all-time favorite writers, and his backstory of teaching English to high school students or whatever, and he was living in a trailer, I think, and he had a board that he put on his knees, I think, and he put the typewriter on the board, and he was typing. And that Carrie story is right. He wrote Carrie, he tossed it in the trash, and Tabitha comes home, takes it out of the trash, reads it, and says, probably we shouldn't, trash bin this one. Maybe Brian De Palma would like to turn it into a great film, for example.
But it's all a true story.
Yeah.
Like that's all very, very true.
Oh, absolutely.
And think of how many years he was rejected. And my first book, this is my 5th or 6th, but I got 120 rejections when 1993. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares now still. I'm at the humbling point of like, really? You liked it?
Right.
Do you ever get that way of like, I've done so much, but you like this one?
Yeah. You actually, you hope that your rep or your history is going to help you a little bit more than it actually does, but you're always proving yourself all over again to people. When you talk about rejections, Liar Liar was turned down by, the pitch was turned down by 9 different companies. So we didn't have a fully worked out pitch, but we had enough basically. And we went in and people said, no, we already have 2 projects about lying in development, or it's not for us, or hey, we've got a great idea. What if your lead character is 5? And we would say, well, it's an idea. Great is an adjective if they go together. So we retired the pitch for 4 years.
You just set it aside. You're like, nobody's interested.
Nobody's going for this one. So then we're in a general meeting at Imagine, which is Brian Grazer's company with Ron Howard. And it's a general meeting, which I didn't want to go to because it's usually a waste of time, a general meeting. And the guy we're meeting with says, Brian has an idea for a project about a liar. And we're full of piss and vinegar. We said, don't tell us. Let us tell you our idea.
Right.
So we pitched the idea to him, and he says, that's really good. I'm going to tell Brian, but he's not in the office right now. So I'll tell him. And we're going, of course, that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting our parking validated when this force of nature goes by at 200 miles an hour with a bad haircut, and it's Brian. And we see him go into his office, which has glass doors, and we see him talking to the executive. And he opens the door and he says, you guys have a minute? We figure, what the hell? We're at Imagine. We've got our parking validated. We'll give the head of the company 2 minutes. So we sit down and he says, what's your idea about? And we said, well, it's about a liar. And he pounds the table twice. I love it. What does your liar do? And we said, we think he's going to be a lawyer. He pounds the table twice more and says, a lawyer who's a liar. I love it. We're going to make this movie. I get my partner the fuck out of there before he says anything else. We're in the car where we get home to Santa Monica, which is like a 15-minute drive. And my agent's on the phone saying, so I've got business affairs from Universal on the phone. It's like, no, we can talk him out of this. We can give him more information that'll make him say no. What do you mean 2 sentences after how many years? This was 4 years later. It's like, you're going to make this movie on 2 sentences? So it's the right person at the right time with the right idea. And without that, if Brian had been in a different mood, or if he weren't pissed off at lawyers for whatever reason,
You probably just got back from a 5-hour lawyer meeting, $800 an hour.
It could have been a divorce where, it's like he's dealing with a divorce lawyer of his wife or whatever. Wow. Who knows what's going on? So it's the right idea at the right time. And you're going, this is how careers get made often. I mean, I'm a Beatles fan. I don't know if I mentioned that. But there's
you tried, but I stopped you. But now I want to hear the details.
There's so many miracles that had to happen for the Beatles to work. You have to have John, who's performing in a band, and Paul has to have a mutual friend who says, go see John in this band. And Paul's got to go there and see John and go, that guy's cool. So during the break, Paul shows John some stuff on guitar that John can't do. And John's going, that's fucking impressive. And then John has to make a choice, which is, do I remain the star of my band where I'm the talented guy? Or do I bring in this kid who's like a year younger, but is really talented, and there could be some jockeying for power? Mm-hmm. And John makes the right non-narcissistic move. So Paul's in the group, and then Paul's got this buddy named George that he travels on the bus with, who happens to be able to play a pretty mean guitar.
They just happen to be on the same bus.
Right, yeah. So he gets brought in, and John doesn't really like him because he's a lot younger at this point, like 3 years, and that means a lot when you're like 18 and 15.
Yeah, 18, 15, sure.
Yeah. And then they get various drummers, but they happen to meet Ringo Starr when they're performing in Hamburg, and he's with a group called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes.
Now, I heard Hamburg was a really important piece of their puzzle.
It was a crucible
because they
for
played
them.
every day over and over and over and over for, 6 months, 10 months?
It was like months.
They got tight. It's kind of like doing the stand-up circuit at the bad places. You just have to get the muscles.
But with more sex for the band.
You don't think comics get laid?
I think you do.
You're so kind.
I don't think Jay Leno ever got laid. You seen the chin, the jaw on that man?
Listen, women will fuck a funny guy. I'm telling you, even if you look.
Well, if I find one, I'll let him know. So and then they've got to find Brian Epstein, who's like the only I will rip you off manager in the history of show business, who says these boys are going to be bigger than Elvis. Well, everybody laughs at him, and the head of Decca Records says guitar bands are on their way out. And you're going, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he gets George Martin, who happens to be a producer of comedy records and a classical musician who listens to them and likes their sense of humor and thinks, who do I make the star of this group? Is it the pretty boy, Paul, who's really good? Is it John with the interesting kind of acerbic thing? Who do I make the star? Because every group has to have a star. It's like, what if I don't do that? What if they're the star? What
Almost
if the
a non-decision.
band is the star? Right. And he gives them a song. I think, How Do You Do It? Or something like that. Says, this will be your first single. And they go, we don't want to do that. What are you talking about? We write our own material. No. Yes.
You wear the same clothes. You do what I tell you. And you end up as a footnote in history.
Exactly. And then he listens to them and he goes, okay, we'll do that. And then it's like all of those breaks had to happen for the Beatles to become the Beatles. If there's no Brian Epstein, the Beatles do not make it. If there's no George Martin, they're never as big as they became, and they're definitely never as good as they became. And if they don't have the 4 of them, I don't know what part you would take out and replace with anybody else.
Where's the 5th Beatle come into this story?
Well, the 5th Beatle would be either George Martin or Brian Epstein. They were just crucial.
Didn't one person have
Pete
part
Best?
of the band, and then Pete Best?
So Pete
personal problems. He's like, I can't do it.
He didn't really fit in. So the other Beatles they had a very similar Liverpudlian kind of sense of humor, and they were very kind of rakish and nonconformist and very articulate guys. And Pete was mean, moody, and magnificent, the 3 adjectives that you're thinking of when you look at my puss. So he didn't really fit in. He didn't party with them. He didn't play with them. And he was an okay drummer, as I understand it.
Right.
Whatever. So he's sick during one of their Hamburg things, and they get Ringo to sit in from Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. Paul looks at George, looks at John while they're playing with Ringo for the first time, and it's the look that says, this is it. So the rhythm section, basically, if that's a rhythm section, whatever it is, whatever a bass and drums are, I'm really musically talented.
I think but we got
that was it. It's like, this is what we need. So when they do their audition for George Martin doesn't love the drumming of Pete Best. He says, you can absolutely tour with him. I don't care. But for recording, we're going to get in another drummer who can keep the time. And the other Beatles look at each other and go, let's get Ringo.
We solve that problem.
Yeah. So they fire Pete Best unceremoniously, and they bring in Ringo.
Were you even alive when all this happened? Why are you so turned on by the Beatles?
I was not. I was not alive when the early stuff was happening, but I was alive early. When I saw A Hard Day's Night in re-release during a summer matinee, the sense of joy of that movie, and it's a black and white movie, it was made in '64, and it was these guys. I was not a popular culture guy, so the fact that they were popular was probably stupidly a reason not to like them. The sense of joy of those guys, the wit, the sarcasm, the don't take any crap from anybody, the we're not standard show business, the sense of wordplay, the intuition, and my God, the chords, the melodies, and the singing of those voices. When I see the scene of Can't Buy Me Love, when they're alone on a field and they're all running back and forth and they're playing Can't Buy Me Love, I am more excited than I am right now. And that's a high bar to clear.
I think you just love art. I think you love genius. I think you love the assembly of creative ideas.
Yeah.
I started taking guitar 5 years ago, and every time my guitar teacher gives me a Beatles song, he goes, "You know how much I love the Beatles." And, you know, most musicians have deep respect for the Beatles. They're pop, but musician-wise, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And they're hard to duplicate as a guitar player. It's like, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Do you play an instrument?
I wish.
I took it up. I was at Cantor's and I said, I'm too old. I can't play guitar. And all these professional musicians in LA said, yes, you can. And I said, oh, is that a limiting belief? And he goes, yeah, that's a limiting belief.
Right.
You're not too old just because you tried at 14. And he's correct.
Yeah.
I'm not good.
Right.
It's hard for me. It's kind of like stand up. It's a new thing 20 years ago. I'm slowly learning and memorizing it. I don't think I'll ever be great because I don't think I have much musical talent, but it's really fun to start something brand new and have a child mind. Yeah. And the sense of achievement too, going from nothing to being able to play competently. That's a huge leap. I'll let you know when I get there. Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't have to be the best in the world at something to enjoy it, you know? And you can have a great time without being, you know, Jimi Hendrix. That's true. I think I'm going to be that. I have one more thing to say about your handwriting. And your wife's here, so she can confirm or deny. Okay. So, by the way, I have a girlfriend with a similar trait, so I understand it. He tends to have a dominant personality, so he can get kind of whiny and snivelly and sarcastic if he doesn't get his way. That's called dominant or domineering. Now, when you're when you met your wife, I'm just smiling because none of that rings a bell with me. So she seemed to be the dominant one in the relationship, but you're also dominant. Yeah. So who's on top? The sheep. It's very comfortable. You have something to pet afterwards, and you get as much tail as you want. Sorry. Does his dominance bother you? Like is this? You just learn to live with it. Like let him have that thing in the house, and she can have that part of the house. Sure. And you can make everything organized and neat. Yeah, that's the only negative quality, which I find in corporations are a good thing because leaders are great. Yeah. When things aren't in control, you control them. But if you don't get your way, you can be a whiny little bitch. Yeah. Other than that, you're an amazing human being. You're very kind and don't know me well. Do you have anything to pitch or sell or go website? I'd like to sell myself, but anybody who has eyes would not buy me. I do script consultation, and I think I gave you guys my website address. Is it paulguy.com? No, it's something complicated. But anybody could email me if they want. No, don't give them a way to contact you, Paul. Just dance around it and let them do their own research. Maybe you can get an AI to find out how to get in touch with Paul. There's also Facebook. I'm one of the few Paul gays on Facebook. Your website is ridiculous. I know it is. Why don't you just get a domain name and point to this? Can anybody help this Luddite learn how to use the, what do you call it? Internet? Oh, that's what it's called. The webs. AGPEAOL. AGPG. Oh, that's an et. AGPG. Would you learn how to write in chicken school? I will hurt you in 5 different ways. APGP@AOL.com. And AOL, by the way. Oh, God. You know when you say AOL, you're like, that guy is clearly over 50. 60. 70. Do I hear 80? I had Bart B3 at AOL. I had it that long ago. Yeah. But I thought, I don't want people to think I'm old, so I got a Gmail account. Yeah, I'm clearly not worried about that. You got a beautiful wife. You got a great career. Don't tell Susan. Why are you? That's your girlfriend or your wife? It's my wife. Where's your girlfriend? I don't have a girlfriend. I'm married to Susan. You said that with such a straight face. I did. You sold it. I did. You must be an actor. I should be. There's money in them thar hills.